To understand what is behind the approach of the Trauma Autoimmune Indicator screening, let's start with an example. There you are at the movies, with your friends, your kids, your family. It's a scary movie, and you get that jump scare. What happens physiologically is your body becomes flooded with a cascade of hormones, and they create all the things you're used to. Your eyes dilate, your hearing becomes acute, and your heart starts pounding out of your chest. Well, immediately when those hormones are released, there's a second cascade of hormones that resolve the first, and you come back to normal. Well, you also make a memory. You go, well, hey, we're just in a movie theater, and this is fun, and I'm not in harm's way. And so, the more scary movies you watch, the less they impact you, because you remember. And you know that the jump scare is coming, and you probably won't be as freaked out next time. Now, under persistent stress, it's a little bit different story. Those proteins are in your body long enough, and your body, for some reason, doesn't recognize one or more of them. It creates an autoimmune response, meaning it creates antibodies, and it treats it the same way it would any other infection. And unfortunately, that immune reaction creates inflammation. What we know, and this isn't just our research, this is well established, is that inflammation creates oxidative stress in the brain, which creates anxiety and depression. And while our society has yet to really acknowledge that there is no barrier between the mind and the body, this inflammation is also known to create incredible amount of disease. Unfortunately, all those things together create behavior modifications. They become habits, they become behaviors, they become personalities, and become deeply ingrained in who we are. Additionally, those resolving proteins no longer resolve the stress properly, and we don't know the implications of that. Now, people ask, that makes sense for long-term situations, domestic violence, combat situation. What about that horrible car accident, or the single sexual assault, or witnessing a suicide, or some other single event that just simply rocks our world? Well, it is well established that a memory can create the same physiological response as an event itself. And therefore, if a person struggles with that event and perseverates, it can create that same situation of a chronic stress response. Let's look at this in terms of how we respond to this today. Because of a million reasons, including being in combat for 20 years as a nation, the term PTSD has its own preconceptions. But the D has always meant disorder, which is simply a collection of diseases. The list here is a list of those diseases that are commonly present with those with a PTSD diagnosis. The top diseases people are very familiar with and associate with post-traumatic stress disorder. The bottom, however, we haven't really made that connection that these comorbid diseases are part of the disease presentation that results from trauma. We know that the mental health portion of this list is created by anxiety and depression, or is adjacent. For instance, insomnia is an expression of anxiety that affects sleep, and impaired processing speed is a fundamental characteristic of depression. Oxidative stress in the brain is well known and established to be a major contributing factor to anxiety and depression. And we know oxidative stress in the brain is caused by inflammation. All of these additional physical disease presentations are well established to be caused by inflammation as well. Through our research, we know that inflammation is caused by an autoimmune disorder, and that autoimmune disorder is triggered by the immunogenic properties of the hormones involved in the trauma stress response. So let's look at this holistically. From the time an individual undergoes a period of trauma, they become increasingly symptomatic, and the probability of positive outcomes continues to decrease. Yet this is where we screen. When people are already symptomatic, and we rely on their self-reporting, which is well known to be very unreliable because of either stigma or repression, or somebody just doesn't feel that their symptoms are created by their experience. With our test, we want to come left, as far left in the process as possible, to inform early intervention before the debilitating effects of mental and physical disease presentation occurs. And this is how we will fundamentally disrupt the current paradigm of trauma-induced disease and provide early detection and intervention. Learn more at iXpressgenes.com.